Marry me right now.
Last day, last story. Me having to take a marker away from a child in a moment. Uh-huh.
That's so bad. That's so bad. Who drew that? Who drew what? Who drew that?
It was Noah.
You did.
I drew 2 circles and Noah.
Bruh, I will send these out on Remind later so you get a chance to see them. And so I'll have all those pictures for you. That's aimed at some of you.
Cora.
Listen, I walked in here and I couldn't take it, okay?
I give him my letter.
Alright.
It's
So,
not fun. You got to turn it off, dude.
last story I have
Put on a shirt.
for you is...
Can I guess it?
I already told you.
No, can I guess White Pop?
Yes.
For the girl.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's no girl involved. Oh, because her? Yeah, no. None of those people.
Or Mike.
Oh, what?
Sexy.
Alright.
You want CT. Oh.
So, my 8th grade year, I really wanted to be on the football team because I really wanted to be popular. And that's where all the popular kids were. So I decided to go out for football my 8th grade year. I'd never played football. I'd never watched football. I had never participated in any kind of sport in my life. And my mom asked me, do you even know how to play football? And I said, no, but I know where all the cool kids are, and that's what I want to go do. So I went out for the football team, and I was at Noblesville Junior High when there was only one school there. And luckily my school was small enough that going out for the team, you made the team. So there were no cuts. So I made it. And I remember the tryouts, you had to like try out for different positions, and the coach Howell was like, all right, what position can you play? And I was like, I can play any position, coach. And he was like, really? And I go, uh-huh, because I didn't know what any of the positions were called. And he goes, can you do quarterback? And I go, yeah! What's that? And he goes, it's where you throw the ball. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And so he gave me the football, and he was like, Joey, run a post route. So Joey ran out, and I went, heh! Then it went like 10 feet. And he was like, looked at me, and I'm like, can't throw, coach. And he was like, but you can catch? And I go, absolutely. And he was like, all right, Brovicast, we're going to throw to you. And so he had me go out and do like a little cut route, and he threw the ball, and I was like, got it! And it went, bang, like right off the helmet, like just like you see in the movies. Like I fell backwards. He's like, son, you can't catch. I'm like, I can't catch, coach. He's like, can you run? And I'm like, absolutely. And again, I'm about 130 pounds. I look like someone took pipe cleaners and brought them to life with magic. And so it gives you an idea of what my body type was like. And so running the ball, he gave me the ball, and I took off running, and the first kid hit me, and the ball went one direction, and like me went the other direction. Could not run. So coach goes, Brovicast, we're going to make you play defense. And I go, cool, what's that? And he goes, it's when you're on the other side, and when the other team has the ball, you're going to do that. But it turned out most of the defensive positions, you had to know what are called plays. And I was what you call dumb. And apparently those two things don't go well together. So they simplified it, and they gave me the position called defensive end. And defensive end, they said all you have to do is wherever the ball goes, you go after it. And I go, like a dog? And he goes, yes, like a dog. So whenever they would hike the ball, I would just run after the ball wherever it went and try to tackle it. I didn't see a whole lot of action out there. But I had fun. Except, well, one, I'm going to show you our team picture. So there's our football team.
71.
Nicely done. For those of you who have done my trivia page, this is the last picture on the trivia page. And so I'm 71 up there. And then there was two kids I'm going to talk about. One is this kid, number 48, and I don't see Vince, who's out there somewhere, who was a short little fellow. Oh,
I know, I was thinking that.
So Darren, who's is this kid? Darren did not like me, but Darren was one of the popular kids. And he didn't like me because I was an embarrassment to football. And Darren really liked football. And so within 2 days of him seeing me on the team, Darren began Operation Bully Brovicast, where the idea was he was going to bully me into quitting the team. But he didn't know two things. One, I was stubborn. And two, I really wanted to be popular. So I was not going to quit the team. So he began every time at practice he'd go by and him and his friends were like, quit the team. And I was like, no, not going to work. And so he did that for several days and realized I was not going to quit the team. So he decided to up Operation Bully Broviac. And so we had what was called a line drill, where you have people, the players getting across from each other, and you get down to the three-point stance. Three-point stance. And then you face each other, and coach blows the whistle. You come off three-point stance, and you hit each other, and you try to push each other backwards. It's like an aggression thing. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And so, again, big Twiggy me, I would come off the line and hit the person across from me, and like, again, it's like hitting someone with a wet noodle. Well, did that for the first day. I liked it, wasn't very good at it. Second day, Darren comes up with an idea. I line up across from a kid. Darren was over here to the right, and when the coach was like, all right, get ready, get set down your positions, Darren grabs the kid that's across from me, and Darren was a short, built little dude. He had these things called muscles. And he picked up the kid that was across from me and just like threw him to the side, and then Darren lined up across from me, and he got into three-point stance. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. All right. So I get into my little three-point stance, and coach blows the whistle, and I come off the line, and I stand up to hit him. But Darren used skills, and he went low and then shot up under me. And so he hit me right in the bottom of my pads, lifting me off the ground and then planting me straight into the ground. I went into the ground. And then while I was on the ground, he was like, quit the team. And I was like, no. And I got back up, and I was like, oh, is that how it works? And so rest of that drill, he just kept lifting me, smashing me into the ground over and over again. This goes on for several days. Till what he did not expect was he made me become a better player because I wanted to not get my butt smashed into the ground. And I remember this day. It was like 4 days into practice where we're doing this drill, and Darren lines up across from me. And when he comes at me, I'm like, I wonder if I go lower and brace my back foot and prepare for the hit if I won't go flying backwards. And when he hit me, I remember like I went, yay! And I slid, I went, because he didn't knock me down. And he just walked over and went, boom! And hit me right in the chest. And I flew backwards. And he walked in, he was like, quit the team! And I was like, good one. But I was excited because I was getting better. So I got to the point where he could no longer just hit me and knock me down. No matter what he would do, I would brace myself, and I was like, I'm a real football player. So he got creative. And he had his friend Rob join him. And Rob was a shorter, rounder fella. And so Darren would line up across from me, and he would have Rob line up right next to him. So it was me, Darren, random kid, Rob. And when the coach blew the whistle, when I went for Darren, Rob turned, and both Darren and Rob would have hit me at the same time. And both of them hitting me, I was like, that was way too much for me. Smashed me into the ground. The kid next to me was like, what happened? And Rob was like, oh, I missed. And they would just hit me repeatedly. That went on for a while. Still didn't quit. I didn't get to play much. I played mostly special teams, where you do like kickoff, return. And then there was also like field goals, 3 points, and stuff like that. Things where my lack of skills could not hurt the team. Fast forward, last game of the season. And this is at the high school, Noblesville High School. It's a nighttime game. Lights are on. Things are super exciting. We are winning at the very end. We're up by like a point or two. And I remember it was the very last play, and the other team was kicking a field goal. And every once in a while, I got to go out and play on like the field goal defense when you're trying to block it, because I was tall and wiggly. And I remember, all right, if they make this field goal, they score, and we lose. And I was in the backfield on defense, because the goal was I could jump up and like those used cars wiggle things. I could be like, rah! And I would go up into the air, and I had a chance of like trying to mess them up. So I remember they hiked the ball, went for the kick, and I put everything I could. Like, this is the last time I'm playing football. And I was like, Twiggy mode, activate! And I went as high as I could. And my little fingers reached up, and I felt the ball hit my fingers. Like, hit both of my hands, and it ends up falling behind. And I hit the ground and have that, holy crap, I just did a thing. Like a real football thing. I did it. And I hit him like, oh, it was exciting. And like everybody's exciting and they're jumping around. I'm like, it's like in the movies. And I was all excited. And the coach is screaming. So we the team were all running off to the sideline. Coach is excited. He's like, we won the last game. He was like, who was that? He was like, who blocked it? And I was like, oh, it's my time. And I'm like, as I'm walking over to the sideline, and I'm like, Coach, it. And right before I said anything, Darren steps in front of me and goes, that was me, Coach. I did it for you. And I was like, oh. He wasn't even on the field. And he stepped in front of me and took credit. And Coach was like, good job, Darren. That's why you're varsity. And he was like, thanks, Coach. And then Clark's room next to me. And then,
Really bad. Did you hear us sing?
What are they singing?
Let it go.
Can't you hear them? They're letting it go. And then after Darren took credit, he turned and gave me the look, and I was like, you son of a booger. And so I was angry, but I did what any healthy person does. I took the anger and I pushed it way down deep inside of me, because that's what healthy people do. And I was like, you know what? I know I hit it. I don't need everyone else to celebrate. I know what I did. And my friends, because they saw it too, and like everyone else, we don't care. Fine, whatever. So next day, end of the season, big party thing that we have going on, and so we have to turn in pads, and we're in the locker room, which is a lot like ours, and all of ours like sitting in little groups in the little locker room aisles and stuff like that. And we have to go turn in pads, and Coach calls my name, and I bring up my pads and I hand them over to the coach. He's like, "Good season, Brovicast, you got better," and I'm like, "Thanks, Coach." And I'm turning around and heading back to my seat with my friends, and Darren's walking down the narrow aisles, because as you guys see, the locker rooms, they're narrow. And he does the shoulder check thing. When you walk by someone, you like whack and you hit him in the shoulder. And when he hit me, you know how in like movies and TV shows they talk about that going red and not seeing a thing? This is one of only 2 times that's ever actually happened to me. And when he shoulder checked me, all of that rage I had shoved down just went that and just came out. And I turned around and grabbed him and wrapped my hands into his shirt and then picked him up and slammed him against the locker in front of the team. So it's like when a mom like picks up a car that her baby's on, and you're like, I'm like, I have no idea how my pipe cleaners picked him up. But I pick him up and then I slam him, it's like boom, and I hit him back against it. And then just over, I'm like, what is your mate? And I just hitting it over and over, and his head's like hitting the. And all of a sudden, as I'm hitting him, I'm like, what is your major problem? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, and I realize what I'm doing. And like everyone's staring at me, and we just go, he like slides down the locker. I'm like, oh no, what did I just do? And his eyes are wide and staring at me, and my eyes are wide, and I'm staring at him. And he just looks at me, he's like, do you want to fight? Yes. I've never been in a fight in my life. I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me, and every time I hit him, I got grounded. So the most I've done is like punched him in the stomach and then ran and hid. But everyone was staring at me, so I go, yes I do! And he goes, as soon as we're done, go out to the baseball diamond. And I go, okay! And then I let go of him, and I turned, and I like walked back to my friends going, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I just like walked back and sat down with my friends, and they go, did you just challenge Darren to a fight? I'm like, I think I just challenged Darren to a fight. Like, he is going to kill you. And I'm like, I'm going to die. But I was like, you know what? I'm not backing out. I have a lot of rage. I've shoved down deep. I'm going to let that rage out, and let's see what happens. So we get done with that part, and we have to go to, we have like an LGI like we have here at the stage. But in Noblesville, it was theater seating, where he has like movie theater where like they went up. So all of the kids getting awards sat down front, so they didn't have to walk as far. And the rest of us sat up there at the top. And I remember I was up there, up at the top with my friends, and Darren was down at the bottom where like the kids with skills got to sit. And I remember like whenever the coach wasn't looking, he would turn to look at me and do this, like into his fist, and I'd be like, because I'm not intimidating at all, but I was trying to be as best I could. And he was like, eh. And I'm like, eh. So my friends kept trying to give me advice. They've never been in a fight either, but that's what friends do. They're like, well, you have to hit him first. I'm like, okay, why? They're like, well, hitting first is how you win. I'm like, okay. They're like, and you have to keep your hands up. I'm like, okay, keep my hands up. They're like, and then you have to move around. I'm like, that's too many things. I can't remember it all. And I'm like, I'm just gonna do a fight thing. They go, okay. And they're like, we're coming to your funeral. And I'm like, thanks, friends. Practice ends. We're done with awards. And the coach is like, be good next year. See you guys in high school and whatnot. The whole team gets up as a team, looks at each other, and we leave as a group and go across the parking lot, much like we have the baseball diamond here across the back parking lot. It was the exact same thing there. And the whole team just goes across the parking lot and goes over to the baseball diamond. And I remember because it was November, it was like a little frosty on the ground. It was a little chilly. Darren and I go to home plate. Home plate's there, and I'm standing, and he's standing there. And then the team makes a circle around us, just like you see in every TV show and movie. And they make the circle, and they're like, fight, fight. And I'm like, oh, okay. I get my little hands up like this, and then we do the circly thing, and like we're just like circling, and circling. And I'm like, I keep telling myself, you gotta punch first. But I've never hit somebody in the face before. I remember like looking at my hand going, come on, you can do it. Come on, just come. And like I couldn't get my arm to like do the punchy thing. Darren didn't have that problem. All of a sudden, like halfway through the circle, he just goes wham and just hit me right in the face, like in the nose. And I remember like my head rocked back. I told you I've only seen red twice. This was the second time. As soon as he hit me, and I'm not proud of this, my head went back and I go, and I leaped through the air like an angry cat, and I landed on him, my knees on his chest, and I grabbed his shoulders and rode him to the ground. When he hit the ground, I just started swinging and screaming. I was hitting his face. I hit the baseball diamond. I hit the dirt. I think I hit a bird. I was just swinging. I'm like, what is your issue? I hate you. And I'm just hitting like this froth coming out of my mouth, and I'm swinging. And all of a sudden, like I can feel arms pulling me backwards. My arms are, I'm like, as they pulled me backwards. And I'm like, what? And I turned around, and it was like Darren's friends. And they're like, fight's over. I'm like, doing the heavy breathing. And I go, what? And they go, fight's over. And then Darren gets up, and there's like blood and dirt all over his face. And he looks at me, and he's like, I win. And I went, what? He goes, you're bleeding. I win. First blood. Street rules. And I'm like, you're in Noblesville. What street? He was like, street rules. I win. This was my response. It can't be over yet. I like hitting you. And he just turned. He's like, doesn't matter. I win. And him and his friends leave. And I'm like, but I liked it. I'm like, I like the hitting you part. That was fun. And my friends came over and I'm like, what was that? And I'm like, what part? They're like, the feral cat part. And I'm like, what now? So then they had to explain to me what I did. I'm like, oh, I just remember like hitting them a lot. And they're like, yeah, that was the after part. So then we all walk over and we're all just like standing near each other because we're waiting for our parents to pick us up. So it's like that, just like awkward, like he's over there and I'm over here and we're like, what up? And then parents show up and my mom shows up in her gray Pontiac Bonneville. And I remember I sit down in the front passenger seat. And as soon as my mom was like, hey, how was from? And she was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I got in a fight. She goes, what? I'm like, I told her, because she knew about Darren, because I'd been telling her, and she was doing that parent thing, like, do you want me to get involved? I'm like, do not get involved. I'm like, I can handle this like a big boy. And so she knew about my issues with Darren. I'm like, you know Darren, the kid that's been giving me issues? I'm like, he and I finally got into a fight after practice. She goes, did you win? And I go, I don't know. She goes, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, well, he says he won, but I hit him a lot and I liked it. And she goes, She goes, you know fighting's wrong. And I went, I do. She goes, you want to go get ice cream? And I go, yes, I do. And my mom took me to Dairy Queen. And I got to sit in the parking lot of Dairy Queen in Noblesville, and I had an Oreo Blizzard, and I got to tell my mom the story of me getting into a fight. So technically, I did not win, but it sure felt good to punch him a lot. and I never had an issue with him again. I don't know if it was because if he was scared of me going feral cat mode, or because football was over and we had no reason to intersect, but whatever the reason being, we didn't have to worry about it. I have a few little bonus pictures for you in the year. I told you my brother, the stories of him. That's my younger brother, older now and better looking than me. Younger brother, that was him in high school, and then younger brother on the left, and then his best friend. This is me in high school. I just looked up random pictures.
That looks like Connor Prairie.
It is Connor Prairie. Nicely done, Cora. Yeah, that was Connor Prairie. I got the picture. We had like a school field trip. And then
David.
that is high school senior year me, and I have one scary picture after this. I apologize.
You look like you belong
It's
in a
me
band.
in 7th
You
grade.
look like a big.
Nope.
Where?
There you go.
Oh!
7th grade, man. Enjoy.
That was a good class.
Have fun.